Hello, my name is Remington and I'm with Hub City Home Inspection. I'm going to be making a series of videos here. These are intended for realtors and it'll explain how I do home inspections. Something you can revert back to, get some understanding on. If you have any questions, reach out and call. I've got my screen here. This is going to be very simplified. I'm not going to have any screen-in-screen, picture-in-picture, things like that. I'm going to be going off my list here and on my computer and discussing each category as we go. We'll split these up into multiple videos to make them easier to go back and watch. So I always preface when I'm walking through with a client a few things. Hey, my job is to inspect this house as if it were built today in 2026. So there will be things wrong with this house just because of the age of the home. Anything I point out, you're not required to fix. The seller's not required to fix. It's simply informational. You want to talk to your realtor and discuss these things. Hey, let's discuss, let's negotiate. What's important to you? These things are discussed by you, the realtor, with your clients usually. My job is to be as non-biased as possible. I tell them, hey, I'm not going to look at something and say, it's not a big deal, we're not going to point it out. Try to point out everything I see that is considered incorrect, and then I let the client decide what they think is a big deal. And I also let them know that can make our reports look long and scary, and that's why walkthroughs are good, because they see a lot of these things that get pointed out, majority of the time, are small items, and they're maintenance things, they're honey-do lists, they're stuff we'll take care of later. There are just usually a couple of things that are worth discussing maybe. Obviously, every once in a while there's the exception of a big concern. In my opinion, there's just not much that is worth not buying a home if it's the home you love and you understand what you're getting into. So I come from a background of everything's fixable. It's just how much do we like it, and is it in our budget to be able to fix it if needed, if it can't be negotiated. So we will get started here. The way I do my inspection versus the way we do a walkthrough versus how this conversation is going to go, they're all a little bit different, but I'll start with my template and I'm just going to work my way down. Starting out, this is Texas template, of course, we're starting out with foundation. And it's always one of the biggest deals is how's the foundation? Because we have a lot of foundation movement. Here in West Texas, our soil is very expansive. When it gets wet, it swells. When it dries, it contracts. And so our houses are always moving. And the more we can minimize this, the better. So we're not going to keep them from moving altogether, but we want to get proper drainage. We want to get, a lot of times, recommend gutters, things like that, to ease the movement of our foundation. So I do, a lot of the times, what we think is a foundation issue is a drainage issue. But the way I evaluate a foundation personally is walk the exterior of the home. Initially, I'm looking at walls and windows, looking at doorways, looking at brick freeze or brick mold, our fascia and soffit, trying to see what kind of movement we have. Well, we take into account the age of the home. Hey, how old is this house? Is it 2 years old and we're seeing some decent cracks? Is it 60 years old and we're seeing those same kind of cracks? Obviously, there's a big difference there. A house that's 60 years old has had a lot of time to move. It's had, maybe it's had drainage issues for years and years, or maybe all 60 years. It just hasn't ever drained properly. And it's had lots of time to settle through various seasons. Our house that's 2 years old, I think it's had time to settle too. Obviously not as long, but it hasn't seen as many seasons yet, and we start getting, maybe we should be concerned, maybe we shouldn't. So we're looking at the outside, looking for gaps around windows, gaps at corners, as well as cracks in bricks, horizontal, vertical, are they in the middle of a wall or at the corner, up high, down low. All these things tell us a little bit different story. And then along with that, we're going to go inside later, and I'm going to look at the walls and windows and doors inside. We have common places that it's just pretty normal to see a crack here. Sometimes it's labeled as a crack, but it's really more of a separation in a sheetrock joint. We have a connection where sheetrock comes together, and it's just, hey, that seam is broken, and the tape that goes on it is separating. not really a crack, more of a separation, really common above doors, above windows. And so that's different than a piece of sheetrock that has a diagonal crack in it that we see coming off of doors sometimes, see it around closets a lot. Those are two different things. But just because we see a piece of sheetrock that's cracked, like a true crack, it still doesn't mean, it's still not a big deal. That can be from tension that was on lumber that relaxed and sheetrock cracked. It could be just from multiple things, but we do pay more attention to those than something than just a straight line above a header on a door or window, something like that. And when we're outside looking for trees, looking for drainage, like I said before, things that may affect your foundation. And try not to, I am a generalist, that's something else I tell people. I'm a generalist, I'm not a specialist. And so there's times where, say, you have this large tree right here. Obviously when they planted it, it wasn't this big. Now it's very large. It is recommended to speak with someone like an arborist, or, hey, is this going to cause me an issue? If I remove it, is it going to cause an issue? Does it have a huge root ball? And once we take it out, now we have a cavity under the edge of our home. Taking out a big tree is not always the right thing to do, but I'm definitely not a tree guy. I can't tell you all the ins and outs and what kind of trees have what kind of root systems and stuff. And so sometimes it's like, hey, you need, before you just cut this thing down and rip it out, you should ask a specialist, is this creating a large cavity in this area here? And then how would I approach that the right way? And so when we have foundation issues, sometimes it's, hey, is this a deal breaker? And it isn't. A foundation issue doesn't have to be a deal breaker. There are good companies out there that know how to take care of this stuff. They do it. That's all they do is adjust foundations. And it may be, hey, you need it up here, right here. We need to stick a little jack under this corner. We'll dig a hole, put it in there. Some of them give good warranties on their work, and that's all you need. Sometimes it's, hey, the whole side of this house has sunken down a little bit, and we need to put multiple piers under this side of the house, and you still get that same warranty. So it's not, people get super worried about it, and sometimes it's okay being worried about it, but I always encourage people, don't back out of this deal if you like this house simply because we've noted a foundation issue. Talk to a specialist and let's find out for sure, hey, how extreme is this? What are your measurements showing? Can we correct this? And obviously, what's that going to cost? And what kind of warranty or guarantees do you have with that? Because if everything about the house is minimal, or you like it, or it's all fixable, or it's all what you expected it to be, except for that one thing's fixable. And how long are you going to live in the home? All these questions, and that's something that you as a realtor will discuss with your client. So after foundations were drainage and grading and drainage, which we've already talked about a little bit, but so much, probably 99% of houses I inspect, I recommend gutters. We have these rains. We don't get a whole lot of rains, but we all know here when it does rain, it comes down all at one time. And so if we're not sloping away from our home and we're flat, or we're sloping towards the home a little bit, all that water is going to pond next to our home, and it's going to cause our foundations to rise and lower more than they should, and that causes cracks. And so like I said, we get different cracks from that, kind of tell different stories a little bit. I always recommend, like I said, gutters often. I tell people you're not required to do it, but it is recommended. And I used to tell people often too, if you don't buy this home because of the grading and drainage concern we're talking about here, the next house is probably going to get the same note. There's only a few neighborhoods in Lubbock, West Texas area, where they're actually building them up high enough to have proper slope away from the home. So I don't like people, that's another thing, like, let's look at the whole house, and then you can make your decision. And let's look around your neighborhood here. That house is flat. That house over there is built flat. And it's one of those things, really think about it. And it is important. We do need proper drainage. Very important to have it. But some people get a little nervous about it right away, and it is something that's correctable. So starting out, we got foundations, we got grading and drainage. If you have any questions on that, please give us a call. Hub City Home Inspection, 806-786-6444. Thanks.